Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another episode of The Executive with Meg, the Gulf Leaders Circle podcast that brings you exclusive conversations with the top business leaders of the GCC. I'm your host Meg, and today I'm extremely honored to introduce my guest, Mr. Shabib Al-Mamari, the Managing Director of Visit Oman. Welcome, Mr. Shabib. It is such an honor to have you today.
Thank you for having me. Absolute pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So let's dive right in. Can you walk me through your journey? What led you to become the Managing Director of Visit Oman?
So the story dates back to a gap analysis study that took place in 2018. It was known as Oman Aviation Group back then. And the study basically looked at the passenger mix, specifically that comes to Oman on Oman Air, the passenger mix that goes through the airport. And through that impact assessment gap analysis study, there were many opportunities identified. Long story that led to a creation of an entire strategy that was started in 2018, launched in 2019, called the distribution strategy, with 5 different initiatives. When the study took place at the beginning, I wasn't part of Oman Aviation Group. I used to work for BP Oman. And then I was recruited and I joined Oman Aviation Group in October 2018. And I overseen a group of different projects. One of them was the establishment of the National Tourism Travel Organization, NTO, what later on became Visit Oman. COVID hit. The plan was to launch Visit Oman in ITB Berlin 2020.
Okay.
And when Oman was the host country back then, and we all know what happened with COVID. The event was cancelled. We came back, and then a lot of things changed. There was an entire restructuring for the sector, and we got redeployed, me and few of the team members, to Umran Group, and Umran continued the story. We relaunched, reassembled, I would say, the organization in April 2021, and then went live, soft launch in December 21, and then fully commercial in 2022 by March 2022 at Expo Dubai.
Okay.
So interesting story behind how this came about. Many bumps, but down the line we were able to make it with a wonderful team at Visit Oman and with the group and the support with the ministry.
And like you mentioned, you have the experience with BP Oman and Oman Aviation Group. How do you feel that this past experience has ultimately shaped your leadership style within Visit Oman?
Different experiences give you different exposure. And I started with a government job 20 years ago. That led then to the opportunity at an NGO, a local NGO for 10 years, and then I was recruited by BP. The NGO was an international, local-based, but international organization that gave me exposure to international best practices from an NGO perspective. But then the shift to BP was starting a new job from scratch.
Yes.
That's the feeling. You could imagine a 100-year-old organization that started the oil and gas industry in the region. They're the oldest in the world and in the region. And then best practices, cumulative of 100-year-old best practices, way of doing business, be it inside the side organization, because you have an organization that at one point at time had 80,000 people working for it. How do you communicate with these people? Who are they? In Oman specifically, they had a very interesting model, which was a functional model.
Okay.
So I had my GM in Oman, CEO, but then I have my functional VP in London, and I had colleagues in Azerbaijan.
Of course.
And we collaborated, and some function sits in Houston. And you communicate with London, region, Houston, and everyone handles different things. So it was a mind opener for me. And basically from a leadership perspective, it tells you how big organizations function, how they operate. And then the most interesting part for me, from an exposure perspective, how do they make it work? It's fascinating. You know, you put a bunch of people in one room and you assume they will get together and figure out. It's tedious to get the people to
Can imagine.
share a vision and then drive an organization and have that commercial mindset, financial sustainability always present. And then to add to it, when I joined BP, they were about to launch First Gas,
Okay.
which is the biggest project back then for BP on a global scale.
On a global scale?
Yes, from
Okay.
within BP itself. It was the first of its kind, a tight gas project to take place in Oman.
Okay.
They used this new technology that they've been testing in North America successfully, and then they pitched the idea to the leadership here in Oman, and they got the green light to do appraisal, which is the testing, and they proved that testing works, and then they went for the full-fledged project. So I joined while the project was still being ramped up, and we were about to hit first gas in summer of 2017.
Okay.
Yes, it was 2017. So it's very exciting times, and it was a testament to how powerful BP is, the new technologies. The first time I see actual implementation of AI in rigs was through BP and their partners. So to learn all of that added a lot of value in terms of communication skills. You always fall in this mistake of assumptions that I know how to deal with people, and then you meet individuals who could say no in a split second and shut you down immediately. So you need to do a lot of research before you meet these individuals about their psyche, their likes, their dislikes, and their organization, their background. And you go there equipped, fully equipped, know what to say, know what not to say.
That's, I think, the most important thing.
Yes, and then you take that aspect of BP International and you bring it and you implement it local. I was there for 2.5 years, and then I got recruited end of 2018. And then I joined this amazing organization, Oman Aviation Group, extremely dynamic, young team, not large, but then the sector was massive. So Oman Aviation Group used to handle Oman Airports, Oman Air, and Transom Group, 5 different companies, all subsidiaries of the group. You have airline, you have airport, and you have services. Scale is very different, and then the opportunities were endless in this sector. And I headed sector development and promotion. So I brought back a lot of my personal experience when it comes to marketing and communication, and some business development. But then you scale it large, and you were talking literally about billions worth of projects being laid in front of us, and trying to figure out what works, what's priority. Everything is a priority, but then you can't start. You need to start somewhere.
Somewhere, yes.
That helped me in shaping how to manage teams, how to manage stakeholders, how to deal with other colleagues, being a very large sector, and having a lot of leadership of the entire sector was around 80 C-level individuals.
Wow.
And that's a lot of seniors to deal with. Everyone comes with their own baggage, their own priority, and you need to maneuver around and understand how can I work with these all individuals to create shared value for us as an organization, and for them also as individuals and in their own function.
And then ultimately, what inspired your transition from corporate communication to the tourism sector?
I had some experience when I came to tourism. I would say not experience, but maybe some hands-on practice. So when I used to work for an NGO called INJAZ, Oman, Junior Achievement Worldwide. It's a global organization, 100-year-old, that does economical empowerment through entrepreneurship for youth. Starts as early as kindergarten and goes all the way to university.
Wow, that's very, very...
Yeah, I headed the chapter here for 10 years. And part of the job was always to recruit volunteers and then train them on the curriculum and then have them teach that curriculum with their personal touch inside a classroom premises. And one of my biggest funders and partners was Umran Group. This was back in 2008, 2009, 2010. And then that relationship grew in 11, 12, and 13. And basically, the objective of Umran was to introduce entrepreneurship, but then with the tourism twist into it.
Sense, yeah.
And they wanted to do some grassroots kind of awareness. What are the different opportunities within the tourism sector? And then have that local champion, the volunteer, inside a classroom, talk about their personal experience within the tourism sector. So we had individuals from corporate, but also we have individuals from hospitality. And I clearly remember one individual who had well over 30 years of experience at Al Bustan, what's now known as Ritz-Carlton.
The Ritz-Carlton, yes.
The guy, a local individual, highly respectable, started as the bellboy.
You started as the bellboy?
In Al Bustan. Ended up becoming the GM.
That is a remarkable story.
And under his leadership, Al Bustan won the best hotels on a global scale consecutively more than one year.
What a
and
story.
Not a lot of people know the story, but then imagine you take that individual and you create content around his success story and you introduce him inside a classroom for 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders to tell his side of story. And then it's always a fun session where they play games and learn a skill that will help them open their mind in terms of what's important for private sector. So I had a lot of exposure with Umran because we started developing curriculum that cater to their needs from a tourism sector in collaboration with the Ministry of Education.
Oh, fantastic.
So I built that relationship and I built a good understanding of how tourism works. I used to interact day and night with these wonderful volunteers. And I got to see firsthand how does the sector works, what are the gaps, what are the opportunities from an educational, operational, business development. I got exposed to all the wonderful projects that we see today. I was there on day one in the groundbreaking of Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. Where it was just a mountain, and you see that transformation, that entire ecosystem being built.
And I mean, look what it is now.
Exactly. When you get that type of exposure, it kind of helps you. With the Oman Aviation Group, when we started the distribution strategy, I also got a lot of exposure when it comes to the different opportunities within the tourism sector. But the interesting part was from an aviation perspective. How do you tackle the issue of passenger mix within your carrier? How do you influence that and change it from what is known as transit passenger to a point-to-point passenger? Because if you could imagine an individual coming from Europe going all the way to Asia, for us, from aviation perspective and tourism, that's a missed opportunity.
100%.
And then how do you introduce a new product that will target the same individual and tell him, you know what, this transit that took place here, this is an interesting destination for you. Come experience it. And you do an incentive program so he or she would stay for a night or two in the aspiration of giving him another offer where he would come back and bring his or her family. That exposure also added a lot of value to me from knowledge and know-how, and also from a network building perspective. We used to deal a lot of tour operators and technology providers in the area of travel and tourism. And then speaking about today, that's how do you put it? That first-hand experience where you have to do it. You don't have an option.
Yeah.
You created, you had this opportunity to create something great. You have to make it work. There is no going back or second guessing. I would say. I've been blessed. Also, half of my team are ex-aviation. And that helps. They had the exposure. Most of them worked abroad. And that always that experience of working abroad, and you bring that experience with you, always adds a lot of value to any organization.
And also, what are some of the unique challenges that you have faced when it comes to promoting tourism in the region, and how have you overcome them?
What we're trying to do is digitizing the entire booking experience to Oman. At the moment, we have well over 100 partners,
100?
suppliers on our booking engine that provides experiences from, tours, packages, stays, hotels, transportation, meet and greet. Restaurants was recently introduced, and then we do a lot of product development with these individuals where we take feedback from source markets that we're targeting, take feedback from what we call them trade partners, the buyers, and we ask them a simple question. Your guest who is coming from Germany, for example, what would they want to do? This is a product. How would you refine this product? What are the missing elements there? We take all that feedback and we give it to our supplier, and then we develop a product and we upload it to the booking engine. Same goes with trade partners. When we talk to them, we look for niche. Recently, we've signed someone who does only golf tours. A bit of education there for us. They book a year and a half in advance.
A year and a half?
A year and a half in advance. And to me, that's something unique.
Very much so.
And when you take that feedback to your partners here local and tell them, listen, I can fill the entire calendar if we work together. But they require A, B, C, D. These are the requirements. If they come to your golf course, they need to see these things present. They need this price range. And then we go into negotiation. We develop a product, and we try to sell it to our trade partners. All of that now needs to be digitized. It needs to be live, bookable, seamless on the booking engine. And when you visualize what we're trying to do, you'd think fantastic, great. I've used booking engines before, booking.com and some other service providers. It's seamless, it's easy. But what we're trying to do is a single destination. So through the booking engine, you only can book Oman. You have Musandam to the far. And this is not something usual, even from an international global perspective. This wasn't done before.
So it's the first of its kind.
To our knowledge, every single time we meet people and we tell them about the solution, this is interesting. We've never seen this, never heard of a destination doing this before. And then to add to it, it needs to be commercially viable, feasible. We need to make money out of it. So it's not a marketing tool where, here you go, check it out, read, it's for awareness. It's not. They need to book. Going back to your question, the challenges that we've been facing was adaptability to the solution. So people that we meet, they sign up. Great, thank you. Now it's easy to book Oman. I go, I check. You guys have single elements. If I have the airline sorted, I don't need to buy airline from you. Great. I can buy something else. And then the same goes for packages. I just need to buy a package with a single click. You have that. Or I can develop my own product on behalf of my customer. I'll develop it and I'll sell it to my customer. And we hear this positive feedback always, every single time we meet. But then we still have them call us. And I'd like you to develop, this product. Like, it's on the booking engine. But could you do it? Maybe you're faster. And then they go back and negotiate. Well, I have the rates there. It's right in front of you. You can buy, use your credit card and done. You don't need to talk to me. And they will write email. And they would want to meet, to come to the office sometimes, or in exhibitions with ATM last week. The same thing where they would come and talk to you about things that they can do seamlessly on the booking engine. This has taken some time. And it's interesting dynamics, in my opinion. It's a good challenge to have, because you don't want to shut them off and tell them, listen, I'm not going to take your call. I'm not going to serve you. You want something, go to the booking engine. You need to transit, and tell them, listen, I'll give you all you want, but you could do more if you go to the booking engine. And this takes time. And this is one of the challenging, I would say a pleasant challenge for us that took place with these individuals. The other challenge, I would say, again, from a dynamic perspective, is how different these trade partners behaviors are. So in the region, it's different than India. It's different than Western Europe. You would assume all of them are, companies that does tourism, and this is, one size fits all. It's not. So in GCC, large number of trade partners are last minute bookings.
Last minute bookings.
They'll call you like, I need a hall with a VIP driver, a suite tomorrow.
Just like that.
And I want the best price. And then they communicate over WhatsApp.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they want an answer immediately.
And
for us, we're trying to showcase that you could get all of this if you just log in. And we try to push them back. Where it's the exact opposite with Western Europe. With Western Europe, its lead time goes to 3 months. The case of the Gulf, a year and a half in advance. Very different dynamic. India was very interesting because they had mix of both long leads and last minute bookings. But we've learned something through a roadshow when the team participated in India. And basically, they said, listen, in your booking engine, it says USD. If it's not Indian rupee, we're not interested, we're not going to buy. And that wasn't always something that we thought would be a challenge. USD is, is acceptable by everyone. Even a small thing like having your local currency show up on a booking engine matters to these individuals. And it's constant feedback that we get, we assess, and we refine the solution.
I must tell you, it's quite interesting because all of the challenges that you've mentioned, they're so closely linked to the behavioral patterns of people and the different mindsets that they do have. It's very, very interesting. And also I wanted to ask you if there's a particular success story or achievement that you are particularly proud of to share about Visit Oman.
Yep. From success stories, I would say the one that stands out, there are quite few. It's our third year, so I can't claim there are many. But the one that I think we at Visit Oman are proud of is what we were able to do with a group of ladies called Hunna. They developed this phenomenal product down in the south in Dhofar region, where they went and met few individuals, group of ladies from the local communities that does activities together.
And this is called Hunna?
Hunna. And Hunna basically started hiking with a group of ladies from Dhofar that does this for fun. They get together and they hike within the mountains. And they convince these ladies that what you're doing is an experience that can be sold to tourists and people will pay for it.
100%, yes.
If you allow them to join you on your hike. And they were able to do that. And then they met these highly intellectual, highly educated individuals who are from the local region of Dhofar that speaks different languages and know the plants, know the animals, know the stories behind different buildings. And they convince them like, listen, this is storytelling. And storytelling can be sold. People will pay for it to stand next to you and you explain to them what is this tree, the history of this house, what is this route used for, what type of animals here, the history of the region. All of this can be packaged and done in a way where people would travel all the way to the region and pay for this experience.
For this entire experience.
We came in later on and worked very closely with the wonderful ladies of Hunna and convinced them to give us the opportunity to try to have it added as a product.
So with regards to the Hunna ladies, I do hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Correct.
So how big is the group and how often do they take people out on this experience and these trips?
So it's two ladies that started this, genuinely interested in tourism and experiences, and in Oman. Did a lot of fantastic research. And through them we were able to do the first all-women inclusive package.
Okay.
It was so popular, we sold more than one. in the region. And we had ladies travel from Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia,
Remarkable.
all the way to the far, hosted by these two lovely ladies of Hunna, and then went through the hike with the local community, went through the educational part with the local community members, had local food cooked by locals at a local house, sat on the ground. The first time I hear the expression forest in GCC was because of these two ladies, and when they showed me pictures, it was an actual forest. I never knew that this forest existed. Even you see the greenery on the far, and you assume it's all small plants. It's not. They're massive trees there with their own history, and to me this is very interesting. The feedback been phenomenal from our clients, and then we're trying to figure out what else can we introduce. The beauty of this story, and this is why we're very proud to be associated with Honda, is that the local community benefited out of this. So it's not your, I don't want to say typical, but it's not your corporate that came, took advantage and left.
Yeah, the usual.
There is the grassroots of sustainability giving back to the community there. Developed by locals, delivered by locals, and then locals are benefiting out of this entire lovely story.
And you mentioned a term that is going around internationally, sustainability. How do you integrate and implement sustainability into your operations?
The good thing about when it comes to sustainability, that's ingrained in our group. We belong to Imran group. And it's not something new that they've just recently discovered. They've been talking about sustainability 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Even when I've worked with them back in the day when I used to do some work for the NGO, they always mentioned sustainability, even recycling material in the program that we used to implement with them, and then sending the right message to students. Sustainability was always there. For us, it's a bit different because we're digital.
Exactly.
And now you could see the shift when it comes to transparency of footprint. Organizations will ask, what's the footprint of carbon footprint here if I buy this package? And it's not something that would be trending and would disappear soon. It's not a fad. It's here to stay, and we've seen evidence of that. So now we're doing this educational part to our suppliers. And we're encouraging them to introduce the concept of sustainability in their experiences, be it an electrical car, be it sustainability of material, recycling, giving back to the local community. And we're trying now to build this content that will get reflected in the booking engine and in the text and pictures that we will be using soon. It's not an easy job, but then because Oman is not new to sustainability, as you know, the Ministry of, now it's an authority, but used to be the Ministry of Environment, been there for almost 50 years. And they've did phenomenal work. So even when you deal with government officials and government institutions, this is not something new. It's not a strange concept, and this always helps with the conversation. A quick example that we're trying to push now is the concept of an package that does only stargazing.
Only stargazing?
Stargazing is interesting because these areas are protected by law. And you can't build anything in these areas. And these are massive areas across the country. And why is that interesting? Because you don't get light pollution. Again, and there is a very nice touch there for when it comes to sustainability of how do you preserve the environment, but then how do you commercialize it in a way where it's sustainable. And we're building different experiences with local partners around stargazing. We're trying to do the same with the ocean-related activities and talk about marine life. What's there? What do you see when you snorkel? What do you see when you dive? And how can you preserve this ecosystem when it comes to the ocean? There is a lot of interesting things happening as we speak, and we're very much excited because whatever happens on the ground, our role is digitize it, tell a very nice story, there and then commercialize it. So all of our suppliers would benefit out of, our business development efforts.
And then another question, I know that you also recently traveled to ITB Berlin.
Yep.
Can you give us a bit of an overview? How was your experience there? What were the key takeaways from ITB?
ITB Berlin this year was exceptional because Oman was the host country, and then I think the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism did a phenomenal job representing Oman. The stand, massive stand, almost 800 square meter, and then a fully dedicated area just for F&B from Oman with live cooking. And that was a very smart move that the minister and the ministry have decided to embark on, because food is part of the experience.
100%.
And then when you meet different trade partners across different source markets, you have people who would travel for food to get to experience, because they want to get a real flavor, not from eating, but from interacting with locals. And part of that local flavor is what do you eat? How do you cook it? What are the different ingredients? So the ministry took that entire experience and exposed it in the biggest trade platform in the world. And to be the host country, put a lot of spotlight on things that we've done from an activation perspective. The other smart element that the minister and the ministry have done was to take the Royal Symphony. And they've did the opening night. Usually it's a long night with lots of speeches.
Yes.
And then the host country will get a spotlight to say something or do something. So the ministry decided to do something different. They decided to put on a show that tells the story of Oman and then highlight why Oman is interesting for tourists, why Oman is interesting for tourism-related operators, and why Oman is interesting for tourism-related investors. All bundled up with a state-of-the-art technology, screen, laser, you name it. A lot of artists traveled with the Royal Symphony. And then what I loved about the show, you have the Royal Symphony play in front of you. And this event is attended by not less than 3,500 people.
Oh, that must have been remarkable.
And these are the global deal makers in tourism on a world scale. And everyone is there watching every single thing that you're doing and saying. And to introduce entertainment as the opening night and to tell this wonderful story about Oman that dates back, hundreds and millions of years when it comes to ecological side of the story. And entertaining arts, crafts, culture, all in a massive screen that tells the story and shows you the scenery and the ecosystems in Oman, the different ecosystems, be it the desert, the mountain, the ocean, all of that. And then the entertainers on the stage are performing with the screen, and the music is live being played by the symphony. All in sync. To me, I've been to a lot of shows here in Oman, outside of Oman. But to me, that was a next level show. And then to send that message from day one, and then next day is the exhibition part where they open, you start all your meetings. They've done that wonderfully, a very powerful message through the keynote of His Excellency, where he talked about the importance of peace to tourism. Very nice link there, and everyone got the message. And then we invited the 3,500 people to join us for dinner. And you had Omani chefs waiting by with Omani food. The opening night set the stage, and we had people flock into our stand because of what they've witnessed. Some of them came. They said, we enjoyed it. I want to visit. Some of them came, like, how can we work together? And this is the hook that you would want to introduce in these opportunities. And I think it was done wonderfully. We had back-to-back meetings for 3 days, very hectic. And on the last day, the Royal Symphony played in one of the most famous opera houses, and that was a public concert.
Wow.
So again, engaging the local community, that was a wonderful move by the minister and the ministry.
That's I can only imagine. And how long was this show with the Royal Symphony on the opening evening?
It wasn't short because we had 7 speeches, one
And you
speech
were-
for.
Oh my goodness.
I think it was 3 speeches, and then the Royal Symphony came, and they did part of the show, and then another few speeches, and then closing remark by His Excellency, and then the closing show. So we had singers, we had dancers from different region, and you told the entire story of a country through art. What a wonderful way to do.
Most definitely. And also, are there any particular upcoming projects or developments that you're working on at Visit Oman?
Yes, the most interesting part for us this year, 2024, is the digital distribution. So recently we've signed with one of the biggest channel managers on a global scale. And channel managers basically are different technologies that take your content from your booking engine and distribute it at scale.
Okay.
This specific channel manager focuses on experiences. They don't do hotels, and they don't do other products. They only do activities. And they distribute the activities to the biggest 2,500 companies on a global scale, including Expedia, including Booking.com, including all the big players across the globe. So you could imagine with me, Megan, if you take a product of an SME, and this is the beauty of what we're trying to do and achieve. An SME who just started 2 years in operating has a very niche, experience that does it really well. You take that product, you convince them to sign with Visit Oman, and it doesn't cost you anything to sign with Visit Oman. And then you connect that experience through this channel manager, and you distribute it at scale. That product will take many years if they would do it alone and try to speak to 2,000, even 100 companies. Now imagine through technology you do that with a click of a button.
It's remarkable.
And then you get that seamless experience where people who want to travel to Oman usually will go and look at different experiences on the apps and platforms that they're familiar with. And we need to have our products, our partners' product, available on this platform of choice.
100%.
So from a readiness perspective, this is what we're trying to do. And scalability perspective, this is what we're trying to do.
And then lastly, to end off our episode, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders or entrepreneurs that are looking to make an impact on the tourism sector in Oman or in the region?
I think you can't afford not embracing technology. It's very dangerous not to do, you'll be left behind. And to me, you need to always look at what are you good at, how can you refine whatever you're doing, market research, always get feedback from your clients, and always do continuous improvement to be it a service or a product that you're working on. And always engaging in different conversations, attend podcasts like this one, and try to look at how other destinations, how other operators have done it successfully. Again, embracing technology is a must. Now, when we've seen the shift as we speak on our sector by the introduction of AI, there are actual use cases now that we're looking at that uses AI. Imagine if I say I don't need AI. In 2 years, I'll be obsolete as an organization. And the same applies for many sector. This is not something that, you should take lightly, but it's not scary. You just need to find the right partner. You don't have to do it alone. In our case, we do business development on your behalf if you're a local SME in tourism. I'm pretty sure there are other partners who are willing to work with young aspiring entrepreneurs. Just keep your eyes open and be sharp always.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Shabib Al-Mamari, for being such an excellent guest on my podcast and for sharing with our viewers and our listeners your expertise on the tourism sector. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
And I look forward to seeing you at my next podcast episode.